Hello everyone, it's BYG Aigami back with another video. Now today, we're going to be doing a Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side Dimensions non-spoiler review. The spoiler review will come at around the same time as this. It'll probably be linked down in the description by the time you're watching this. If not, just check the channel and you'll see it. But let's talk about Yu-Gi-Oh! The Dark Side Dimensions. So, first of all, I do want to say this. I watched the movie 3 times, right? Throughout those 3 times, I had different feelings about the movie. And first of all, I do want to say this. If you haven't watched any of the clips, spoilers, trailers, or anything like that, you're going to have an amazing experience watching this movie. I know that for a fact. The thing is, like, after me reading the spoilers several times, watching the trailers, doing breakdowns, like really looking at them in depth, seeing the Japanese clips as well, I already knew most of the movie. Like, I already knew this happened, I already knew that happened. So it was like an experience for me, at least for the first time. The first time around in the movie, and I won't talk about any spoilers, was like, this is kind of bad. But the fact is that, as I said before about the whole like Japanese things, as I was watching the DSOD Japanese clips, and not even that, I was also watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Subbed and then the original manga. So I didn't have time to really watch English dub or English sided things, at least for Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's why my experience the first time around, or at least for the first act of the movie, was kind of bad. I was like, what the hell is this? But as it came around in the second time, and it was during the second duel, I was like, man, this is really good. This was really good, and as I started watching it more and more and more, I noticed what 4K media did. This formula that they used for the movie is my favorite. The fact is that they used key points of the Japanese story. Of course, they added in their little corny little 4K media lines just to make the viewers laugh. But the thing is, I don't care. That was all minor stuff. Majority of the stuff, from what I remember and from what I wrote down as well as reading the Japanese spoilers, is that they use key points, and I'm going to talk about them a lot in my spoiler review. They use key points, and then they added a little bit of 4Kids in there, like, you know, those little corny lines, funny jokes, and they were funny. Some of them were corny, but a lot of them were funny. As well as the music. The music was, they used the Kaiba hacking theme in one scene, which, that's an iconic theme. In addition to that, they also utilized the characters pretty well. Now, let's talk about the big 3 characters in this movie. Number 1 is Kaiba, of course. Number 2 is Aigami. Number 3 is Yugi. We'll talk about another person later on in the other review. But the first person is Kaiba. I think Kaiba, it's kind of half and half. I think Kaiba has more of a role, but I think at the same time Aigami has more of a role. When you read the spoilers, you say that Kaiba has more of a role, but when you watch the movie, you see that Kaiba and Aigami have probably around the same screen time. Yugi has a short end of the stick because the thing is, and this isn't spoilers, this is just facts. KT, Kazuki Takahashi, was originally going to make the movie about Kaiba and Aigami. He spent like a whole year just adding Yugi in the movie. So you can see that Yugi sort of lacked in this movie, but let's talk about Kaiba. They got Kaiba's motivation right a little bit, and I'm not going to talk about the motivation at all because I don't want you guys to get spoiled. And the fact is, to be fair, is that this movie is following the anime. It wasn't following the manga, so they couldn't get that other portion correct in that sense, because people haven't read the manga. I haven't even read the manga fully. I'm only on volume 6. There's still 32 more left, so it's understandable. But oh yeah, also before you guys even watch the movie, I recommend for you guys to read Transcend Game Part 1 and Part 2. It'll make you understand things a lot more, especially when it comes to the technology side of things. I was kind of stupid enough that I didn't reread it before watching the movie. But yeah, Kaiba's character was utilized pretty damn well. One thing I sort of disliked in the beginning of the movie, when I watched it the first time, I was like, I don't know why they're doing this. But like when the character talks mentally, they do it in the manga, they do it in the sub, they do it in the freaking anime. I think they do it like basically in anything. When the characters talk mentally, they have like that little weird tone to their voice. But in the DSOD, it was where they had like a whole robotic type voice and trying to make it more pronounced and stand out. And it's pretty obvious that they're talking mentally, but I think they're trying to make it more pronounced. And I really didn't like that addition, especially I think Kaiba did that the most. Aigami did a little bit. I don't even know if Yugi did it a few times, but I didn't like that little feature. But as I watched it like second time around, third time around, it got better. It got bearable. So I like that portion. And let's talk about the visuals. The visuals of this movie are amazing. But as I was saying about the visuals, there are a lot of scenes that have like sort of this colorful, I'm talking just colorful background. And that's mostly during minor spoilers, not that much. It's really not spoiler-ish. But when there are flashback scenes, there's a lot of blue, white, vibrant glares, just really beautiful colors, man. It's amazing. Especially during the duels when we see like boss monsters, which I will talk about in my spoiler review, so you can check it out in the description. You see, even though it's CGI, you see the detail oh my lord, literally. And the thing is, when I was watching in the theaters, it had like, the theater was kind of shit. The theater projector wasn't as big as it normally was. The speakers were kind of low, so the experience was bad. So I might check it out in another theater close to me. Maybe that would enhance my experience. But the fact is that the visuals looked amazing. There were a few scenes here and there where the characters sort of didn't look right, but that's understandable. That happens in every movie. And the fact is, this is pretty long for a goddamn anime movie. Like 2 hours and 7 minutes. I've never seen a 2 hour and 7 minute anime movie in my life. Good on Studio Gallup for doing a lot of work and putting their time in here. And also, there was actually a shot that KT drew, Kazuki Takahashi. He did it in Bonds Me on Time when he draws it right after the Judai turn. My first time watching it, I was like, yo, that stands out a lot. Second time watching it, I was like, yo, that stands out a lot. Third time watching it, I was like, that's definitely KT. Someone sent me like a storyboard of what the KT drawing was, and I was like, yep, that's it. That's it. So like his artwork was so distinctive. And what made me notice that it was because I was going through the manga, of course, just like sort of skim through it before I watched DSOD. And especially during Memory World, I was like, I looked at Yugi's sideburns. And the fact is, when you look at KT's drawing of Yugi sideburns, especially during Memory World, you can see the goddamn pointy sideburns. And they stood out, and I was like, that's definitely it. But going back to voice acting, everyone did an impressive job. Dan Green delivered as always, Eric Stewart delivered, and he gave Kaiba a different tone in this movie. And I like that tone. And when I talk about it in my spoiler review, you're going to understand what I mean. Daniel J. Edwards, just an amazing job. An amazing job. Like, at first I was like, I don't really know about this Aigami voice. But as soon as you watch the movie, you're just like, he's amazing. The fact is that there are some scenes where Aigami is sad, happy, and Daniel J. Edwards delivers the tone in all of them. He really does. He has that like villainous laugh where it's like, ha ha ha. And I'm sorry I can't do it because I'm not a voice actor, but the fact is that he delivered that voice. In addition to that, Aigami's motives were, I think, probably, close to the Japanese version? They were probably, just as close to the Japanese version. So that's a plus, at least for the sub fans out there. Like, I really didn't care if they altered it. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was like, man, if 4Kids alters this shit, you know, because Takahashi worked on it, man. It's like the best thing ever. I don't want them to change anything about this movie. But that was me like watching too much sub shit and like sort of absorbing into the whole sub side of things. Well, at the end of the day, I'm more of an English fan. I'm always gonna. Even before watching the subbed and reading the manga, I was like, I'm gonna create a boundary. The fact is, I want to stay more of an English fan than I do of a sub. I respect both of them. I respect KT. I respect NAS's work, what they did for the Japanese dub or the original dub and the manga. But the fact is, I grew up on the 4Kids dub. I prefer that more. I speak English, alright? I don't want to read subs 24/7. And then let's talk about the background characters. And I'm talking about like Yugi and Co, Joey, Tristan, Duke, Bakura, Taya. They weren't utilized that much as I would like them to be in this movie. And you guys can understand that when I talk about the spoilers in my review. And I'll link that down below as well. But the fact is that they were good. They were like, a few of the characters were just there. Like Taya was just there. She didn't have like that whole Duel Monsters vibe to her. Especially during like Battle City, where in the early episodes, she was sort of a guidance for Tim when he was trying to find out his memories. So she didn't have that role as much as it would be, importantly. But they played a lot of nostalgic themes, guys. Just so many nostalgic old themes. And a lot of the references were during episode 1, which I will talk about in my spoiler review. And I'm sorry I'm being repetitive about that. In addition to that, the dueling of the movie was good. Like, I really didn't pay that much attention to it because this story is more of character plot than dueling. But the fact is that initially I thought this movie lacked dueling. But when you watch the movie, you're like, okay, there's a good amount of dueling, there's a good amount of character development, and there's a good amount of one more thing. And I think you guys know what it is, but I won't say it, just so you guys don't get spoiled. So this movie was overall good, and especially if you're a sub fan and you hate the dub changes, the censorship, stupid shit like that, like which I don't really care about. Then check out the movie, give it a chance. Don't come in trying to bash it, trying to find out the flaws. And maybe you'll enjoy the movie, because I did, and it does follow a little bit of, it actually follows a lot of key points of the Japanese script. So I don't see why there's a point to hate it, but like at the same time, I'm not really a hardcore sub fan, so I don't know where you guys are coming from. Maybe you guys will hate the corny, cheesy 4Kids jokes, but I like that. It's funny. But at the end of the day, this movie is something to have a fun time with. But that's basically all I want to say about my Dark Side Dimensions review, guys. Also, before you watch it, this is what I recommend for any dub fan or any probably sub fan out there as well. watch a few of the 4Kids nostalgic clips like Exodia summoning, Blackluster summoning, Yugi and Joey moments, really to build that up, especially Kaiba and Yugi moments or Kaiba and Tim moments, just to build up the hype a little bit. Listen to a few of the themes, trying to build it up because that's what I lacked. I didn't really watch a lot of the English stuff. My experience was sort of diminished because of that. And also give this movie a chance. Also, I would recommend for anyone to watch this movie twice because the second time around you're going to enjoy this movie a lot more. Because I know for a fact once I watched it my third time, I enjoyed it more. I'm probably going to watch it a few more times. I don't know, probably like one more time. But that's it. This is my Dark Side Dimensions spoiler-free review, and I just want to say that this movie's overall a good product. Voice acting, there's some characters that sounded a little bit too old. Animation was good. Everything was basically good about this movie. And I'm not even trying to be biased. Of course, the movie lacked a little bit in terms of plot. Of course, the subbed version is going to be better in terms of plot because it follows the manga. It has more of an in-depth backstory, and it has more of a wider reach in terms of detail. But the fact is that for the dub, this is good. I like this formula that 4K media used. Follow the Japanese script a little bit, even though I really don't care if they did. Add a little bit of 4Kids/4K in there. I'm saying 4Kids because it's a Dual Monsters movie, and that's what their company was named when they were dubbing it. And then have all this nostalgic soundtracks in the background. This is probably one of the best things I've ever seen for a Yu-Gi-Oh movie. So that's my spoiler-free review for Yugi the Dark Side Dimensions. Thank you very much for watching. Check out my spoiler review, which is linked down below. Have a great day.